What if the legend of Atlantis was never a myth? What if the Atlanteans truly existed, not as gods, but as humans who reached a level of wisdom and technology far beyond what we can even imagine today? And what if they didn't disappear? What if they simply became something else, hidden in plain sight, their knowledge scattered across the world, waiting for those ready to remember? Prepare yourself, because what you are about to hear may change how you see history, humanity, and your own origins. For centuries, the story of Atlantis has been told as a warning, a tale of pride and punishment, a mighty civilization that rose to greatness and was swallowed by the sea in a single night of fire and thunder. But what if that version was designed not to inform, but to hide? To make you believe that those who held divine knowledge were punished, so no one would dare to seek it again. Plato was the first to speak of Atlantis openly. He described a world that seemed too advanced for its time. Cities of crystal and gold, energy that flowed from the earth itself, machines that harnessed the power of sound and light. He said the Atlanteans once ruled vast lands, even reaching parts of Africa and the Americas. But his writings were dismissed as allegory, as myth. Yet across the planet, from Egypt to Mesoamerica, from the Andes to the Sahara, we find the same memory of a lost civilization that taught humanity how to build, to heal, to connect with the cosmos. Could it be that the Atlanteans didn't vanish, but became the seed of all ancient civilizations? Before we go further, ask yourself, why do almost all ancient cultures speak of a great flood? Why do they describe beings who descended from the sky, bringing knowledge of stars, agriculture, and divine order? Were these metaphors or memories? Memories of survivors from a world that fell beneath the waves. Archaeologists have long searched for physical proof. Under the ocean, beneath the ice, in forgotten deserts. And what they found doesn't fit our current version of history. Structures that predate known civilizations by thousands of years. Ruins that align perfectly with constellations as they appeared 12,000 years ago. Massive stones cut with laser-like precision in a time when humanity was supposedly using sticks and stones. So, who were these people? Ancient texts from Egypt speak of the Zep Tepi, the first time when gods walked among men. The Mayans spoke of Itzamna, a god who brought them writing, astronomy, and time itself. The Sumerians spoke of Oannes, a being who rose from the sea to teach civilization. Different names, same story. Some scholars believe these were not gods, but survivors. Atlantean priests, scientists, and sages who carried fragments of their lost knowledge to every corner of the world. They became the hidden teachers of humanity, the architects of the pyramids, the designers of ancient temples, the carriers of cosmic wisdom. The Atlanteans are said to have mastered energy, not oil, not electricity, but something deeper, life force itself. They understood vibration, resonance, and the divine geometry that governs all creation. They knew that every sound, every color, every thought shaped reality. This was not magic. It was science on a level that merged with spirituality. They built cities powered by the Earth's magnetic grid, used crystals not as decoration, but as living tools to heal, to communicate, to travel beyond the body. They saw the divine not in temples, but in every human being. And that was their greatest secret, the belief that we are not separate from the universe, but living reflections of it. So, what happened? Why did this civilization fall? According to ancient accounts, the Atlanteans reached a point where power overshadowed wisdom. They began to manipulate energies they didn't fully understand. They turned spiritual science into weaponry, harmony into domination, and in a single catastrophic event, whether caused by nature, war, or cosmic alignment, Atlantis was destroyed. But not all of them died. Some escaped, taking their sacred knowledge to Egypt, to the Andes, to the Indus Valley, to the lands we now call Africa and America. And from those survivors, humanity was reborn. Yet, over time, the memory of Atlantis became dangerous. It represented a truth that threatened those who wanted to control humanity. A truth that we are divine by nature. So the story was rewritten, turned into a legend of arrogance and punishment. The word Atlantean faded from history books, replaced by myths of gods, angels, and titans. But can you really erase truth? Or does it simply wait, buried deep in our collective memory, for those ready to remember? Today, as science rediscovers ancient energy systems, sacred geometry, and the power of human consciousness, something ancient is awakening. It's as if the knowledge of the Atlanteans is returning through us. Every breakthrough in quantum physics, every study on vibration and frequency, echoes what the ancients already knew. That thought shapes matter, that consciousness creates reality, that we are more than flesh and bone. We are energy, frequency, awareness. Maybe the Atlanteans never left. Maybe their legacy lives within us, encoded in our DNA, our dreams, our intuition. Maybe we are their descendants, and our mission is to remember what they forgot. But the question remains, where did they go? Legends from every corner of the world speak of lands beneath the sea, cities swallowed by the ocean, lights flickering in the deep. Off the coast of Cuba, sonar scans have revealed symmetrical stone structures 1,200 feet below the surface. In the Atlantic near the Azores, divers have found roads paved with massive rectangular blocks. Near Japan, at Yonaguni, underwater temples rise from the seabed with precision that no natural process can explain. Could these be fragments of Atlantis, or one of its colonies? Ancient maps, like the Piri Reis map of 1513, depict coastlines of Antarctica free from ice, something only possible if cartographers had access to knowledge from a time before the last ice age. How could they know, unless they inherited the data from a civilization that existed before the flood? In the sands of Egypt, inscriptions speak of the Island of the West, a place where the gods came from after their homeland sank. In South America, myths of Viracocha and the Shining Ones tell of teachers who arrived from across the sea, pale-skinned, golden-haired, carrying the knowledge of stars and sacred order. These are not coincidences. They are memories, fragments of a truth scattered like seeds across the world. The deeper we dig, the more the puzzle aligns. Geologists have confirmed that massive floods did occur around 12,000 years ago, precisely when Plato said Atlantis vanished. The end of the last ice age brought chaos, earthquakes, and rising seas that swallowed entire continents. Could this cataclysm be the true origin of every flood myth on Earth? Some scientists argue that an asteroid impact melted ice sheets and triggered the collapse of ancient civilizations. But others believe something more: an energetic imbalance, a shift in consciousness that humanity wasn't ready for. The Atlanteans might have fallen not just physically, but spiritually, consumed by their own misuse of divine power. Yet their essence survived, encoded in the myths, in our blood, in our symbols. Have you noticed how pyramids, across distant continents, share the same shape, the same orientation? How ancient temples align with celestial patterns identical to those of the pre-flood skies? This is no coincidence. It is the language of Atlantis, speaking through stone. And even today, its whisper can be heard in our technology, our science, our art, echoes of a forgotten genius trying to reawaken. But as this knowledge returns, the same forces that erased it once before rise again: fear, manipulation, and control. For to remember Atlantis is to remember who we are: beings of creation, not submission. Before we continue, I want to ask you something important. Do you believe Atlantis was real? Have you ever felt that strange pull toward the ocean, toward forgotten temples, toward a past you can't explain? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice helps awaken others and keeps this truth alive. If this message resonates with you, hit the like button now. Not for the algorithm, but for the awakening. Subscribe, because here we uncover what was hidden, question what was forbidden, and remember what was erased. Together, we're not just exploring history, we're rewriting it. Take a deep breath, because what comes next goes beyond legend. We will explore how the survivors of Atlantis became the seed of every advanced culture. The architects of Egypt, the mystics of the Indus, the shamans of the Andes. We'll uncover how their symbols evolved into religious icons, how their sacred science became mythology, how their wisdom was fractured but never destroyed. Every empire that rose carried a spark of Atlantis, and every fall echoed its warning. The Atlanteans were not gods. They were mirrors of what humanity can become when wisdom and power walk hand in hand. Their downfall was not their end. It was a lesson, and maybe, just maybe, this age of rediscovery is their return. The truth of Atlantis was buried under waves, but the tide is turning. The question is, when it rises again, will we be ready to remember?